All right, guys, this is Unit 4, Day 3, solving rational equations. We're going to be setting up and solving equations that had variables in the denominator. So let's get started with the word problem that's up example 1. The question says it takes a computer 8 days to print all of the personalized letters for a national sweepstakes. A new computer is purchased that can do the job in 5 days. How long would it take to do the job with both computers working on it? We would expect that both of these computers working together for the same job should decrease the amount of time overall it would take. So what we're going to look at is for computer 1, it takes for one print job 8 days to do it. For the new computer, which I'll call computer 2, it takes for one print job 5 days to do it. It's newer, it should take less time. Their combined efforts will decrease the overall amount of time it's going to take. So what we do is we put for the combined, or both, for the one job, it's going to take them X amount of days. So 1/8 plus 1/5 equals 1x. That's the equation you set up. Now you can do 1/8 plus 1/5 in a calculator. You can do it in your Desmos calculator. Since most of you have Desmos, you should be able to access Desmos.com on any internet connected device. So if I put that in, 1/8 plus 1/5, it'll give me a decimal, 0.325. You can actually click on there and convert it, and that converted fraction will be this reduced simplified fraction. So we're going to want to use that fraction there because we're going to solve it using proportions. That's going to become 13/40. So using Desmos, making that a reduced fraction, 13/40, we now have a proportion we can solve. And we're going to do that by cross multiplying. So we're going to do 13 times x and set that equal to 40 times 1. Forty times 1 is 40, so 13x equals 40. So to solve for x, we just divide. And 40 divided by 13 is going to be some decimal. You plug that in your calculator, and I'm just going to use my handheld calculator, but you can use Desmos if you don't have one. And it's about 3.0769. So I'm going to round that up to 3.08. So about 3.08. And our time unit is in days. So it'll take them combined just a little over 3 days to do the job that the fastest one could do in 5 days, and the slowest one would take 8 days to do. All right, try this one on your own. We'll pause the video. Once you pause the video, try it on your own. You can check my answer after you've worked it out. All right, here's the setup. We got 2 people mowing the lawn. So I got person 1 and person 2. Takes one person 45 minutes, so 1/45. Takes the other person an hour, and you want to use minutes here, so we're going to convert that to 1/60. We're trying to figure out how long it's going to take them to work together, so I'm going to do 1/x. Go ahead and solve that out. All right, combining those two fractions together, you get 7 divided by 1/80. So now solve the proportion out. All right, you should get 25.7 minutes. Here's the setup for you. We do 7/180 equals 1/x. Cross multiply, so you have 7x equals 180 times 1. And then divide that 180 by 7, and you get approximately 25.7 minutes. So again, both people mowing the lawn, it's going to take them less time than the quickest one. Okay, for example number 2, to solve the equation with multiple variables in it, we have to do some factoring. So we want to have common denominators. So we're going to look at x squared plus 5x plus 6. We're going to see if we can factor that. These two factors on these denominators are more than likely going to represent these factors listed here. And if you do a little quick math, 2 times 3 is going to multiply to 6, and 2 plus 3 adds to 5. So those are the factors. So we want to write x plus 2, x plus 3 on the denominator. I'm going to rewrite this. So that it's in factored form. What I want to do is get rid of these denominators. So I'm going to look at what can I multiply all three terms by to basically cancel out what's on the denominator. And we do that by looking at both the factors here and simply rewriting them. So if I put x plus 2, x plus 3 up by the x, by the 2, and by the 5, what's going to happen is on the left fraction, the x plus 2 will cancel out. And you're just going to be left with the x and the x plus 3. In the middle fraction, both the x plus 2 and the x plus 3 will cancel out. So all we have left over from that is 2. And on the very right fraction, both the x plus 3's cancel out. So we have the 5 and the x plus 2. So that's the equation you want to work with. Now this can be solved by hand, and I'll go through with that with you guys. But what you first, you're welcome to use Desmos to graph this if you want. So if you put the fraction here, x plus 3 plus 2 equals 5x plus 2, you put it in Desmos first. It'll give you all the possible solutions. So go ahead and type that in one of your Desmos lines. And you're going to notice it's going to hit the x-axis at -2 and +4. So those are both solutions to this equation. We can back that up with a little bit of quadratics. So if I were to distribute that, that's going to be x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 5x plus 10. And if I get everything to one side, that's going to be x squared, 3 minus 5 is -2, so minus 2x. And 2 minus 10 is -8. If you factor that, you're going to get x minus 4 and x plus 2. So -4 times 2 is -8, and -4 plus 2 is -2. So if you solve both of those equal to 0, you get x equals 4 and -2. And so that backs up the answers that we had here at 4 and -2. If you wish to get them from the graph, that's fine. The problem with this question is those are not necessarily going to be your answers. You got to look back at the original denominators. The ones that had the factored form, so x plus 2 and x plus 3. We're going to have a problem with one of these. you can't plug in -2 into here or there because that's going to give you 0. You can't divide by 0. So remember, your restrictions are x cannot equal -2 and x cannot equal -3. Well, I don't have -3, but since -2 was one of my answers that I got, we actually want to cross that one out. We call that extraneous. And part of your assignment has extraneous solutions in it. The other number is simply going to be the real solution. So x equals 4 would be your real. And not all questions have extraneous solutions. Not all questions have real solutions. So we want to make sure we look at our original denominators to figure out which ones are which. All right, you pause the video and try the next problem, please. And I'll have it worked out after you unpause it. Okay, I have it factored out, x minus 3 and x plus 3, because this is a difference of 2 squares. So you have to now write the factors on the numerator so that way we can cancel out our denominators. See if you can do that. I'll pause the video again. Okay, we have both the x minus 3 and x plus 3 written on all 3 factors, all 3 terms. We can cancel out the x minus 3's here, the x plus 3's here, and both the x minus 3's and the x plus 3's on the very right. So my leftover is going to be 3x plus 3 plus 4x minus 3 equals 2. And we can graph that in Desmos. So I'm going to work this one out by hand. So that's going to be 3x plus 9. Distribute those. 4x minus 12. Combine your like terms. So that's going to be 7x. 9 minus 12 is -3. Add 3 to both sides. And divide by 7. Now we can go back and we can look at this function here and we can check our solutions. All right, so as you see, if I put the equation after I got the denominators out, I get an answer on the graph that says 0.714. If you divide 5 by 7, that's the same number, 0.714285714. There's a pattern to that number, but it'll keep going forever. So either the decimal or the fraction is fine to write. So we can say that's approximately 0.714. And because if I look at my restrictions and I look at my denominators, which cannot have 3 or -3, since I can't divide by 0, that's not either of those numbers, so that's going to be a real solution. It does not have extraneous solutions. All right, look at number 3. Anytime you only have a fraction on each side, you can use that as a proportion. Cross multiply. So that's going to become 3x minus 2, and we're going to multiply that by 2x plus 3. Make sure you're using parentheses. The other two terms multiplied together are going to be 2x minus 3 and 3x plus 5. No, it doesn't matter what order you write those two in, as long as these multiply together and these multiply together. We can do that by hand or using Desmos and graphing it. You pick one that you're going to do. All right, I'm going to start with the easy way. I'm going to just graph it. If I put that equation in, I get -2.25. Notice that it only gives me 2 decimals. That's actually the exact answer. So if I really want to get the decimal, I can type in a new line, -2.25. And if I hit the fraction bar, it'll tell me that's -9 divided by 4. Now let me back that up with some handwork. So the answer is negative 2.25 or negative 9 divided by 4. Let's see how we get that. If we do some FOIL, that's going to be 3x times 2x, which is 6x squared. 3x times 3, which is 9x. Negative 2 times 2x, which is minus 4x. And negative 2 times 3, which is minus 6. Over on the right, you're going to get 2x times 3x, which is 6x squared. 2x times 5, which is 10x. Negative 3 times 3x, which is minus 9x. And negative 3 times 5, which is negative 15. Notice that on the left and right sides, you have the same term, 6x squared, so those will actually cancel out. These two, 9x minus 4x, combine to 5x. So 5x minus 6. 10x minus 9x combines to 1x, so 1x minus 15. I'm going to subtract the 1x from both sides. And that's going to give me 4x minus 6 equals negative 15. Then I'm going to add the 6 to both sides. And negative 15 plus 6 is negative 9. So if I solve that for x, I'll divide both sides by 4. And I get negative 9 divided by 4. And that should check with the graph that we had. All right, try the last one on your own, please. Pause the video and try it on your own. All right, let me take it through one step at a time. First, you can see my restrictions up here are negative 6 and negative 3. So we're going to be mindful of that as we work our problem out. If we cross multiply, we'll get x times x plus 6 equals 8 times x plus 3. And you are welcome to go straight from there to graphing if you'd like. And you can see I have that on here. And on my graph, I get it to cross at negative 4 and 6. And since neither of those numbers are the restrictions, those are both real solutions. But you can see me take it through one step at a time by hand too. So the next thing would be to distribute the x to the x plus 6 and the 8 to the x plus 3, which is going to be x squared plus 6x equals 8x plus 24. Then I'm going to want to subtract 8x from both sides. And that'll give me negative 2x. Then I want to subtract the 24 and get that as a quadratic. From there, I'm going to factor. So two numbers that multiply to negative 24 and add to negative 2 would be negative 6 and positive 4. Therefore, my answers by hand would be positive 6, because x minus 6 equals 0 solves to 6, and negative 4, since x plus 4 equals 0 solves to negative 4, which is what we also got using the graph. If you have any questions on the day 3 assignment, please don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know what I can help you with. Thanks again.